everyone, welcome back to the Speak Up Erika podcast. And today my guest is Chantelle.
Hi.
Hi Chantelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So today's topic, Chantelle works a lot in the sustainability field, and we're just going to be talking about positive impacts that you can make for the environment.
Yeah,
Correct?
for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Chantelle, would you be able to just share a little bit about yourself?
For sure. So, I think this is the point where whenever you introduce yourself and you say your name and then you say your occupation, and I think I've really been reevaluating that and taking a page from the book The Untethered Soul, where they ask you, who are you? And over this time, especially in this downtime, I think like a lot of us, we've been pivoting, we've been changing, we've been trying to figure out what to do. I was heavily involved within the environmental nonprofit sector for the past 10 years, and I sort of just got over it. And I wanted to step back and reevaluate. So I am relaunching as a holistic life coach and a birth and postpartum doula. But sustainability is always near and dear to my heart. So I think that environmental consulting is always on the radar. And doing things like this, where we can talk about the importance of your individual impact and of the changing technologies and these things that are happening all around us, so that we can all make a more positive impact.
I definitely agree. And there's those people out there that, yes, people are talking about sustainability, but they're not necessarily putting the action towards helping make it better for the environment, right?
And I think another thing that I saw was that a lot of people want to help, but they see the environmental initiatives as being inconvenient or as being something that they are not necessarily willing to do. And that's what made me stop to say, well, wait a second, why are we forcing people to do what they don't want to do? We want everyone to be happy, we want them to be healthy, but we also want them to treat the environment well. So how can we influence or encourage people not to hate their lives by being better to the environment, but how can you live a happy and sustainable life while also living with compassion, while also being, taking care of yourself and taking care of the environment around you too. So that's been my focus a little bit more lately, is making it easier, making it more appealing.
Yes, yeah.
It's hard.
It is.
People don't like the planet.
No. Oh, I think
why though?
when those when those articles come up and you're scrolling through Instagram and you see oh, the world's gonna end in 2021 or something like that.
Right.
Then people get more concerned and oh crap, maybe I should be doing something. Right. But then they just scroll to the next story and then they're like, oh, yeah. They don't really sink it in.
Yeah, there's that missing piece though, because they're okay, well, what am I gonna do if the world is ending, or if there's gonna be more plastic than fish in the ocean? I'm so powerless. You feel sort of insignificance, the word that I'm gonna stick with. But I think that's why it's most important. And if anyone is listening to this podcast right now, if you're one of those people that needs convincing, if you're one of those people that is unsure of why you should be doing something for the greater collective, and you don't feel that you are a reflection of that greater collective, then I think you should stop listening right now, because I don't want to convince anyone anymore. I'm not convincing anyone to do something that they feel is extra effort for the greater good. Because I think that we just need to step up. We just need to really evaluate what we're doing and be able to own it and move forward. Because right now it's we're shaming and we're pointing fingers and we're doing all this stuff, and it's not helping. Yeah. But how can we empower people? How can we make it convenient? How can we make it so that the environmental or the sustainable initiative is not swimming upstream? Yeah. So, if you need convincing, you can listen, that's fine. But I honestly, there are so many reasons for us to, not only for the planet, I think a idea is that you do things for the planet and it doesn't benefit everything else. If you do things sustainably, you're saving money and you're also improving your health. 9 times out of 10, any of the environmental initiatives will help you save money and make you live a healthier life.
Right.
So if you don't care about the environment, you at least care about your wallet, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
You can
true.
use that as a motivation instead. And I think that's where I wanted to step away from the environmental industry, because we kept on pushing, hug the trees, and not, hey, holistically, this is actually a better way for you to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I want to make it more appealing.
Yeah, I think that's true, because if they don't care about the environment, everyone cares about themselves.
Right.
Exactly. So
you
that's
have
a
to
good
play that card.
twist.
Yeah. Exactly.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome. Should we get into it then?
Yeah. So I figured that we could start off with looking at 3 different ways that you can use your time more mindfully to reduce your impact.
Mm-hmm.
And then following this, we'll be doing 3 ways that you could use your time to make a more positive impact.
Okay.
So let's get into the negatives first, because I think one of the big things that I acknowledged is that, perfect example. Burlington, Ontario. Car ownership of about 2.5 per household.
Wow.
So we love cars in Burlington. You can't you can't bike, you can't take the bus, you got to drive everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's just what happens. I'm not sure why.
Right.
Now with the electric car, let's just assume that everyone switched over to an electric car. Mm-hmm. The battery is way worse than a lot of the effects of your regular traditional car.
Wow.
So if we were to literally switch everyone into an electric car, first off, I don't think we would have enough power to charge them all on the grid. I think that would be a lot of power. And then also we would have this mass amount of batteries that can't be properly disposed of at the end of life for these electric cars. So instead of switching to that more sustainable environmental option, we have to reduce first. Like, we literally have to sit down and think, how can we reduce our consumption? Because even if we were to switch to solar panels, even if we were to switch to whatever else is out there that's more sustainable, at the rate of our consumption, it won't be sustainable. There's no way we can sustain it, because we're already consuming however many times more than the Eastern world. We are already consuming so much more and wasting so much that to switch to the environmental initiative, think of all the solar panels we would have to make. Think of all the resources it takes to make those solar panels.
Exactly.
Think of the garbage at the end of those cells' lives. So it's interesting how one of the big things that you'll see with this movement is, say no to straws. So buy a plastic, reusable straw.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why can't we just not use the straw? For those people who don't necessarily need one, you don't have to go out and buy a brand new straw. We can just focus on not using a straw. And that's where I think the first step is really acknowledging how much we need to reduce before we switch over into renewable technology and into a new sustainable shift. So in terms of how you spend your time in this, we really need to reflect. We really need to look at what we are consuming and what we are wasting. And one of the big things I used to teach, especially kids, when I was working with these groups and businesses, who would be doing presentations for these employees in large corporations who didn't necessarily associate with their waste. They didn't know what they were throwing out.
Yes.
And the best way you can find out how to reduce your impact is literally going through your garbage.
Yeah.
Because we are all responsible and accountable for that waste that we produce, and taking a second to see what we are throwing out on a daily basis is that first step.
Exactly.
I think 100%.
That's so interesting that you say that, though, because I was in an interview one time, and when they asked me at the end, do you have any questions for us? And I asked them, what are your sustainable practices in your business?
Right.
And he didn't really have an answer. He's like, we we recycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's like, but
Check,
like digging
done.
deeper into
Right.
what they actually do in sustainability, it's
right.
not a lot of companies like think about it, I guess.
And it's funny because we've given people who recycle the pat on the back. It's like, okay, job well done. You are now sustainable. Carry on. You will save the world by recycling your plastic water bottle.
Right.
It's like, no, because it takes a lot of effort and energy and water and resources for these water bottles to be recycled, to be, melted down, processed, whatever they need to do, only to turn out to be a bottle cap in its next life. It's downcycling. So it really it's frustrating when we assume that recycling is the answer. And I think we talked about this actually during the locals fest, because I'm probably the I don't know. I'll call it out. I will call out recycling at any point, because I think that the best thing that you can do is compost for sure.
Yes, yeah.
And then use reusables. The recycling component of our life needs to drastically change, because we just rely on that to save the world. And it's so funny. I can't even deal.
If people recycle, then sometimes that they don't recycle properly, and that doesn't create the impact that they thought they were doing,
exactly.
right?
And that's the thing, that there are so many rules and regulations when it comes to recycling. So is everyone washing it out? Is everyone washing out those containers and drying them properly? Are you making sure that it's not a soiled pizza box that's going into your recycling? Are you, even to the littlest bit, like, you're using a plastic water bottle maybe thinking, oh, it's okay because I'm recycling it. And it's like, well, you would have saved all of that if you could have just gotten a reusable bottle or used a glass whatever for it. Which goes back to our other point too, because it's not to say that, okay, if you don't have a water bottle, you need to go out and you need to buy a new water bottle. Yeah. But like, you can literally use anything to fill up.
Exactly.
And you're saving that extra piece of plastic that doesn't necessarily need to be there. We live in a really interesting world where conventional economics has shown us that we need to achieve infinite growth. Like, the market's going to continue to boom. We are going to be smooth sailing. It's totally fine. Infinite growth, supply and demand, it's always going to increase. We live on a finite planet.
Yeah.
And the way that we extract and process and distribute and consume and then dispose of all of our products, of all of our resources, is totally linear. Like, we're not creating a circular economy yet. Not yet. It's coming.
Oh, interesting.
It's totally coming. Bulk Barn has their reusables. Like, we're kind of doing, well, I mean, time of COVID, maybe less reusables now, but there is that circular approach that's happening. Yeah. But I think that we really need to shift away from that mentality that recycling will be completely introduced back into the market. It's still taking a lot of new resources to make that happen. So reusables or good quality resources that you're actually going to be investing in quality goods is the way for that. Yeah. I think. But it is really interesting, because the way that the market goes, it shows us that buying cheap stuff that you're going to throw out is the easiest.
The answer,
easiest route. It's the way you're most going to, benefit. Yeah. But then what people don't see is that, you buy the cheap shirt from H&M, you have to buy a new one a few months later because it doesn't last you.
Exactly. Because of the way that it's made. It's not quality product.
So you end up spending more money on this cheap stuff instead of just buying the stuff that may have been fair trade cotton. It may have been organic cotton. It could have been something that is going to last you a long time, and it's going to be made with integrity.
I think maybe people's excuse is that it's too expensive, and I'd rather buy like the $5 shirt than the $50
for sure.
What's it called? Water bottle made shirt or something like that. Or that it's not as accessible as H&M is everywhere, but this specific company that makes these products is not everywhere, right?
This is my story of Hoover.
Yeah. Oh, Hoover.
Hoover was my vacuum.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is it?
I remember way back, like, I think it was like my first time like living on my own, and I was looking for a vacuum.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you go to Walmart.
Right.
And you get your little cheap vacuum.
Yeah.
And sure enough, within maybe like 2 months, 3 months, like I had to buy a new vacuum. So instead of buying one that may have been double the price, may have even been triple the price, that would have lasted me. I bought the cheap one, which you can't fix because it's too expensive to fix it. I had to go out of my way however many times to go find this vacuum. And like the grand scheme of things, I would have saved if I just went for the better vacuum to begin with.
Right, yeah.
And that's the story of Hoover. And I think that relates. It relates to literally everything. When you go for the cheap option, and even food, like you go for cheap food, you're going to pay for it with your health later on down the line.
That's true.
And that's like that missing piece that like people are like, oh, it's so expensive to be sustainable. And it's like, well, if you're listening, we're talking about reducing your consumption to begin with. Yeah. So you don't need all of those shirts from H&M to begin with. You're saving it. You're saving that. Mm-hmm. You don't need all that junk food to begin with. You can save that. But when you do want to buy something, make it something worth it. Make it something you're going to enjoy, that's going to benefit you, that's going to be healthy for you. Because even our clothes are containing a lot of chemicals and microplastics that aren't healthy for us. Right. So there are external costs to a lot of the things that we purchase. And someone along the way is going to get ripped off if we keep buying the cheap stuff. Yeah. So that's where it is. It's taking, and that's actually one of the points, is that taking some time, a little bit more time to really look into what you have and what you need. Because at the end of the day, we really have more than we need. Way more than we need.
Agreed, yeah.
So it does totally make a difference.
Can I ask, Chantelle, what you think about like the whole decluttering KonMari method?
Wait, okay, so I don't know this particular method. Is this someone else? Or is this that Marie?
Yes, Marie Kondo. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I watched so many of the decluttering videos and everyone's just trying to remove excess waste in their life, but the way that they dispose of it is something that I question on what they're doing. So
that's a tricky one for me.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
I love it. I think it's so good to declutter. And I think that once we declutter our stuff, we are able to make room for the things that we need. Yeah. I think it's really important too, just like mentally and physically, to have that space. But as you said, when you are disposing of something, it's really important to find a home for it. And it's my favorite thing to say is that it's not waste unless it's wasted. So if you have anything from electronics to clothing to furniture and you put it out just so that it can go to the landfill, it literally breaks my heart. Like I drive like when I go to, I remember when I was like driving to work in the morning and you know, you pass all those houses. I've picked up bikes. I've picked up like tables and different things, and I just take it to the places that can donate them. Wow, because, I mean, maybe those people didn't have a car. Maybe those people didn't have access. Maybe they didn't know, you know? But there's not enough services that are accessible for people to say, hey, I have these electronics. They are recyclable, like they could still work, but I just don't know what to do with them. So it's really hard, I think, for people to manage that, because when you're especially when you're clearing out stuff, you just want it out. We just literally did a dump from our basement here, and everything from furniture to clothing to books to all this sort of stuff, and there's a company that'll come and pick it all up, but they're gonna throw it out. And I was like, nope.
1-800-DUMP or something like that.
It's like, it's not garbage though. And I was literally thinking of a business plan in my mind, like, okay, rent a van, get all these materials, I could sell off the metal, I could sell off the wires. Like, I know I was trying to like figure out what you do with it, because like there's gotta be a market for these resources.
It's untapped.
There's still perfectly fine things. Like, you know, I'm not an electrician, but I'm sure that the speakers I was getting rid of still had good parts in it, still had something. So it's really, it's great to declutter, but it is really important to find how you can make use of the stuff that you're going to throw out. Who can make use of it? You know, there are so many great Facebook groups out there where it's like, free. Come and pick this up.
Yes.
Or, hey, does anyone know where I can get elastics, whatever it is. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that we really need to tap into that, take a little bit extra time, figure out where it goes, and who can best use it.
Yeah.
Because it is quite, it's just irresponsible that we think that our garbage goes to the end of the curb and we never see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to the landfill before?
I haven't, no.
It's one of my favorite places to go.
I remember you saying that.
It is so interesting.
Yeah.
And it's really organized. Like, they really, really organize it.
I guess it would have to be, right?
But if you go check it out, and, like, we had a few, like, fans and different, like, appliances and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
And you go, and they're literally just shipping containers, and you just, like, take your fan, and you, like, throw it in there.
Right.
And then it's just a whole shipping container full of these fans that have been thrown in there.
You line up with your car and you're just kind of, I have one time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they just, like, show you, like, all these different bins that are made for different things. And it's, like, there's a lot of resources and a lot of materials and things that end up in there. There was, like, this whole shipping container full of TVs. Right. And you walk in there and you're just like, people literally kill themselves working so that they can buy a flat screen TV.
Yeah.
And there's a whole shipping container full of ones that maybe are broken. Who knows? Maybe they're just not, I don't know. Maybe they need the slightest fix. But why do we throw it out?
Maybe, like, people are not thinking that same way.
We don't fix things anymore.
No. Yeah, that's a huge part of it as well.
We don't know how to fix things.
It's true.
And that's actually another one. Okay, wow, I need to, like, jot down these points. Because one of the first things that we were talking about, you scroll through Instagram.
Yes, yeah.
So we spend so much of our time looking at all of this negative news. Mm-hmm. And that's what catches our eyes. That's what hurts our hearts. That's what makes us feel like we need to do something.
Right, yeah.
We need to stop spending so much time looking for this tragic news, and we need to start filling our time with either talking about solutions or learning skills.
Yes.
Learning these skills that we've lost that can help what these problems are. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about food waste, we got to learn how to preserve food. We got to learn how to cook, how to freeze, how to pickle, how to jam, how to do whatever you want to do.
It's true,
but those are like, those skills are lost. And unless you want to take the time to learn those skills and to act in your everyday life to preserve food like that, you're not gonna be helping by just simply being aware of the issue. Being aware is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how much time are you spending scrolling on your Instagram, looking at all these really depressing pictures of whales with plastic in their bellies? Mm-hmm. Like, can we learn how to make natural products so that we don't have that plastic?
Right.
Can we learn how to make things instead of, I don't know, going to Walmart and buying it? Like, there's so many different skills that we could learn to help offset our impact. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that I really, really stand by, because during this time of COVID, people got really crafty.
Yes.
People got so crafty.
So true. Yeah, yeah.
And that was beautiful. Yeah. That was so cool. Yeah. How can you use what you have on hand to do the things that you need? Because you can't go to the store. Yeah. Those are the skills that I think that I would really love to see more of, especially in schools. Like, especially young, like, students and stuff. Yeah. For them to learn to mend clothing even. Right, exactly. Right? Yeah. Like, get out of here. Like, you're going to go and buy a shirt, but as soon as it, or a pair of jeans, and as soon as they have a hole in it, you're going to throw it out. Like, no. We got to learn how to fix that.
I think that was something I was thinking of a lot, that we're always, like, consuming all these things, all this, like, content and stuff, but we're never, like, creating. Right? And creating is so beautiful. Yeah. Like, you're able to take what you love, you're able to put yourself in a place maybe that's challenging you. Yes, yeah. And it's so nice to be able to express yourself in that way. So I love it. Like, I remember I had, like, some extra fabric, and I was like, I'm going to make some scrunchies. And it was like, cool, like, it was just whatever. So I just think that we can be really creative if we wanted to. Or we could be really depressed looking at the pictures of whales with plastic in their bellies. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So I really encourage people, because the time that we spend
our time is our power.
Yes.
Our time is literally our power.
Mm-hmm.
And where we spend our attention, where we're working, where we're spending our money after we spend our time working, where we're learning, like every second of the day, all you have is your time and how you spend it. And if we can really be more positive or be more purposeful, if we could be more purposeful with the time that we spend, we can really make a difference. And that's not just for environmental purposes.
Yes.
That's just for your ideal lifestyle.
Exactly.
We always talk about habits. Like, habits are important in forming the lifestyle that you wish to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So this is completely related in spending that extra second to really focus in on what's important, to focus in on what you love, to focus in on what's good for the people around you and for the planet too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a huge fan of spending your time wisely and idling wisely. So if you are going to scroll on Instagram, by all means, go ahead, but focus on those people who are making stuff, who are teaching you things, who are not just trying to make you feel bad for,
littering or
whatever it is. It's funny. It is funny. But I think I want to shift into learning more instead of getting bogged down with all the news and all of the depressing stuff that's out there.
Yeah. Aww.
Yeah. I know, right? We can do so much with our time. Yeah. But then I think even in that, it's like, you spend a little extra time, let's say, to bring a water bottle. Right. You spend a little extra time to pack some cutlery so when you eat out, you are, you're set. You know that you're going to go out for a walk. Yeah. Maybe in your car, you just have whatever you need so that you're not going to have to purchase something or you're not going to have to waste something. Yeah. And I think it's that extra mindfulness that sincerely makes the difference. Yeah. And I know it seems so small, so insignificant. One plastic fork. Yes. But I mean,
it adds up.
It does. And I love food. Yeah. We've talked about this.
Yes.
I love food. So I know that, in my bag, in my adventure bag, there's cutlery. Because if I'm going to stop for anything, it's probably food. So how do I make it as least wasteful as possible?
For me, it was, I went to a restaurant a couple years ago. And when I was introduced to the whole, zero waste movement, and I brought a container with me because I always can never finish my food. Right. And I was packing all my food in my container, and my friends were like, what the heck? Why did you bring that? And they're just kind of weirded out that I brought a reusable container.
I know.
But it's because it's not the new normal yet, right. I guess. And people aren't used to seeing that, and they would rather ask, oh, can I just get a takeout container? Right. Or
it's encouraging too, because I used to be the same way. There's this Thai there's this Thai restaurant up the street that they were letting me bring my reusable container. Nice. So when I ordered takeout, I would order, but I would say, but wait, because I have my own containers. Yeah. And the manager there loved it. Nice. She was so happy. She's
save more.
Yeah, she's like, I want to do this, but a lot of customers have a problem with it. It's it was easy for me. I did it.
Exactly.
So now I don't have to deal with the stupid styrofoam. My food tastes better because I have, better packaging for it. Yeah. And it's the littlest thing. Yeah. It's a simple little thing.
That's another solution to work on for restaurants and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Do you know what it is though too that I noticed? Okay, so way back, I think it was about 8 years now. Wow. Yeah. I was learning more about natural products. Right, I was learning more about the chemicals that were in products. Yeah, yeah. And for me, I was really interested in it. Yeah. So for me to go out and buy the ingredients and to experiment with these different recipes and to adjust to all these natural products, it was worth it. I loved it. It was fun. It was an experiment. It was liberating. Yes, yeah. For other people, that might seem like such an inconvenience. Yeah. It could be such a huge turnoff that they didn't want to make their own deodorant. They don't want to try this new toothpaste. They want to just stick with what they have.
Exactly, yeah.
So find your jam.
Yeah, because it's inconvenient for them. Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
But then find your jam. Mm-hmm. Say you really love playing sports. Can you buy secondhand equipment for your sports? Yeah. Can you try to raise money through your games or through your tournaments or whatever else it is? Can you carpool? Can you do so many other things to make whatever you do more sustainable in a way that's still enjoyable for you. If you're into fashion, can you mend clothing or use secondhand clothing or thrift? Like, find your jam and reduce your impact with that passion. Don't just do it because everyone else is doing it and telling you don't use deodorant. Do it because you actually want to.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a big factor because we're so like
hopping on the bandwagon.
Oh, I know, right? And it's sad when people are not enjoying their life.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I hated working within the environmental industry for that reason, because, you would be approaching people, giving them really solid advice about what they could do with their home, with their whatever.
Right.
And they just didn't want to listen because it wasn't what ignited them. It wasn't what made their heart roar. Like, it just was a side piece of, okay, I can hug some trees later.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't something that they could find to be enjoyable while also reducing their impact on the environment.
Right.
So my biggest word of advice is, like, you live your life once, be happy doing it, but there are ways that you can do what you love while also reducing your impact. So, I mean, hone in on that. And I love to get creative with that sort of stuff. So if you have an area of interest or a passion or something that you want help on making it more sustainable, or ideas on how to make it maybe just more beneficial, I'd love to help out with that too.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
But yeah, there's a lot. There's so much to do because it's all holistic. Like, there's so many elements to being sustainable.
Yeah.
So
there's so much too. Like, there's so, like, when we were at the Locals Festival together, we were talking about all the different, I guess, areas of sustainability.
Right.
It's so huge that people might be overwhelmed on what side to tackle, right?
For sure. And then you can have someone who's like, a hardcore vegan who only wears secondhand clothing, but who drives a Hummer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they could be, like, it could be just whatever. I know probably someone who does that probably wouldn't be driving a Hummer, but it's the same thing, and we used to see it all the time where it was like, you're doing so great in these areas, but in other areas, it's almost like it doesn't make it worth it, the other stuff that you're doing, because you're consuming way more meat or something that's making it more impactful. And it's like, but keep working at your niche, like, keep working in your own little corner, and holistically, like, when you are more mindful of your whole overall impact, then you can say, okay, like, hey, we reduced what we needed to do. We've done what we can, and I still enjoy my life. So that's always a good one. More mindfully to reduce your impact. The 3 things I wanted to point out was that first, we can stop focusing on all of the problems and start spending our time focusing on skills or looking for solutions. The second is to really evaluate what we need and to stop mindlessly purchasing things, because we really do have more than we need. Yeah. And then the third thing is to just be a little bit more mindful when we are throwing things out, because if we can divert as much waste as possible and make sure that no valuable resources are going to landfill, we can make a significant impact as individuals. So these are my 3 points for making your time work for the environment as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chantelle. I guess next week we'll be having our part 2 episode with Chantelle as well, and it will be about how to create a positive impact, correct?
So using your time to make a positive impact.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for listening to part 1 of figuring out the negative impacts.
Reducing
our negative impacts, and then catch you folks in the next episode.
Thanks.
Bye.